and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on MTV where they like for their cheeks to get some sun.
I hope she means my face!
That's right, we're talking about The Challenge, Season 39, Episode 7, and this episode was chaos with a capital C, at least towards the end of this episode. But before we can get to that, let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Big T winning in the elimination against Kaz, getting to stay in the game, saving the Kaz from losing another $10,000 and coming back to the challenge house. Melissa and Big T are thrilled for Big T to have won. It's at this point we get a little bit of a recap from Callum about the relationships that are happening inside the house. We have Mariah and James still going pretty strong. You have Callum and Michelle, who are the strongest couple and are inseparable in the house. And then you have Nurys and Horacio, who are still moving at a snail's pace. We then go to this conversation between Berna and Horacio, where Berna's like, you gotta tell Nurys how you feel. And Horacio is talking about how he's taking everything extremely slow. And it almost feels like Horacio can't make a decision on whether he wants to pursue a relationship with Nurys while inside the house or not. This indecisive characteristic of Horacio has been plaguing him not only this episode, but the entire season, where people are getting annoyed. I think he is a strong competitor, but as we will see after this week's daily challenge, it is quite annoying when a player of his caliber who is able to compete and wants to do everything on a noble scale, but when it comes down to actually having to play the game and just doing the basics of playing the game by nominating somebody, he shrivels up and kind of defaults to whatever somebody else does. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's move on to the next day where we see Corey L and Melissa talking about the game. Corey L is kind of nervous because it's most likely going to be a guy's day next, and there really is no names kind of circulating throughout the house, and that's kind of worrying Corey. He also still feels like he's on thin ice with his USA alliance, and that can bring on some paranoia in the game. We move to a conversation between Callum and Emmanuel, and they talk about what they would like to use the money for, why they are playing this game, what they would like to do, and to me, that was troubling signs for both of them. They really haven't gotten too much airtime on the season. Emmanuel just hasn't gotten a lot of airtime in general. Up to this point, Callum's only real storyline has to deal with him and Michelle's relationship. So seeing them both talk about their families back home, what they would use the money for, getting personal, I was like, they're either going to win this week's daily challenge or they're both going to be nominated next to each other. But we're going to put a pin in that. Let's now get everybody donning their challenge gears, heading down to meet up with TJ by a body of water for this week's daily challenge called Working the Angles. And this daily challenge is rather simple. You're going to have to copy the pattern from one suspended pyramid on the other suspended pyramid. This daily challenge is heights over water, which normally trip up some of the contestants, as well as it tests people's communication skills. Honestly, there's not much to this daily challenge. The toughest part is just swinging from one pyramid to the other. I am glad that the challenge did change up the answer key in every single round, so it wasn't just the same answer key, because everybody was just getting to watch as the teams went over and over and over again. So if it was the same answer key, whoever went last could memorize the code and then just get it done in record time. So I'm happy that they changed up the code, but again, this wasn't that thrilling to watch. There wasn't a lot of action to this. I do have some bullet points from this daily challenge. In Team 1, Olivia had the roughest wipeout. Then in Team 2, they were pretty efficient with Emmanuel, Melissa, and James. James had to overcome his fear of doing heights over water after what happened in the Challenge UK. Team 4 had 4 players with Asaf, Nurys, Mariah, and Ed. Some people would say that that was an unfair advantage to having an extra player, but luckily Mariah did nothing in this daily challenge, so it wasn't really an advantage at all. Mariah was afraid of being up that high and possibly wiping out. She did get a nose job that was like $13,000, and she was worried about falling into the water too hard and maybe messing that up. Team 6 had Berna, Coriel, and Raven, and they had to get a lot of help from the sidelines from Michelle and Mariah because they were putting on the puzzle pieces wrong. But it was Team 5 of Big T, Horacio, and Kylan who were super quick. They were able to take care of business. They were highly efficient. They had great communication skills, and they won this challenge. But here comes the toughest part of the daily challenge for them, and that was TJ putting them on the spot to nominate one man to go into this week's elimination. And this is where we see Horacio's indecisiveness get the best of him. He first asks Big T who she would like to nominate. She says, I don't really know, not really wanting to throw the first name out there. He turns to Kyland. Kyland says Emmanuel. Horacio seems to like Emmanuel, but every time he puts out a name, it doesn't sound like he's confident. He's not willing to push it because Kyland seems so confident of wanting to say Emmanuel's name. Big T jumps on wanting to say Emmanuel's name because it's nobody from the actual UK alliance. And he defaults to what Kyland wants to do, and that is Emmanuel. So they say Emmanuel's name, which, can I just say, at this point, this is where the edit gets a little strange and interesting to me, because it feels like they make us want to believe that everybody is afraid of Emmanuel, that saying his name is the worst thing that they could ever have done. Emmanuel, who up to this point really hasn't been shown a lot in the edit, or his game, or how strong of a player he is within this game, as well as looking back at season 37's edit, Emmanuel really didn't come off as all that scary or vindictive or somebody that the challengers should be afraid of. I really don't understand what the challenge is getting through with this edit, trying to make him come off like this is the worst decision in challenge history. But we'll see how this all plays out. We get to the bar scene, and Horacio is trying to tell Emmanuel that he didn't want to say his name and trying to do damage control, throwing Kyland and Big T under the bus, but the damage is already done, my guy. So just stand by your decision because you had to say the name, you were the one to say it, and just move on from it. We move to a conversation between Ed, Melissa, and Big T, where they're making an alliance called the Biker Chicks. Melissa and Big T are scrounging for any and all numbers that they can get on their side, especially heading into the next Women's Day. They want to have some reassurance going into the next deliberation. They're trying to get Ed on their side. Ed is playing along with them at the bar, but in the confessionals, he's saying that that's not going to happen whatsoever. And then we move to Callum talking to Berna, Emmanuel, and Jay about how he can't trust Nerys. She's really cool to talk to, but when it comes to game stuff, she's probably running the numbers. She's the puppet master, especially with Horacio. Speaking of Callum, we move to the next day where we see Callum and Michelle have a nice date night. And then we move to the house where Olivia, who is talking with Raven, Jay, Emmanuel, and Michelle about how they cannot trust Corey L. They don't know where his head's at in this game, and he's kind of moving very mysterious around the house, talking to everybody. They're keeping him out of the game talks, which is making Corey very paranoid in this house and heading into this week's deliberation, which when we get to this week's nomination, that's when everybody is ready and willing to vote for Corey L. And Corey is trying to put everybody on blast, being like, why me? Where is my alliance? This is when Corey L, seeing that there is no other options, he decides to burn the remaining few bridges that he has to make a grand stand to really try to persuade the US alliance to keep him out of the elimination. And he's going to declare that he was using and manipulating Melissa and Big T for information in this game and taking whatever they said to him back to the US alliance. That he really didn't have alliances with them, and he's trying to sever that tie, make a big statement, make a big scene to ultimately pick a side, saying I am 100% with the US alliance, which seems counterintuitive, right? You really hurt the people that had your back 100%, it seemed, with Melissa and Big T. They needed all the numbers that they could get, and they really did feel like Corey L was a friend to them. But now, those ties are gone. And then the US alliance is already on the fence with you, but now that you put this giant target on your back and saying that I was using and manipulating these two women, well, now they're gonna look at their relationship and friendship with you going like, yeah, but are you doing that to me? This was so unnecessary in my opinion. I understood what he was trying to do, but realistically, you just pigeonhole yourself to go with an alliance that is willing to vote you into an elimination. And that's what they do, unanimously. Basically, all Corey L did was ensure that nobody was going to vote for anybody else in this nomination ceremony but for him. Emmanuel and Corey don their challenge gear, head down to meet up with TJ at the arena, hang out with TJ on the arena floor, waiting to see which champion was going to join them in this week's elimination. And TJ calls out for Devin. Devin walks out to an uproar of applause from the stage. Emmanuel is getting flashbacks from season 37, but everybody on the stage is happy from season 38 who knows Devin. They probably hung out. Michelle, in particular, is very happy to see Devin. They are best friends outside the house, so she is super happy. And can I just say, I love the juxtaposition of Michelle's emotions and how she's feeling from when Devin walks in to his decision of who he wants to go into the elimination this week against, because Devin walks up to the draw, he picks the middle pole, pulls it out, and it is a mace. This is the mysterious third option that TJ has been alluding to and teasing for the past couple of weeks, and this option is called Chaos, where this is now Devin's choice. He can choose whoever he wants to go up against, whether it's Emmanuel or Coriel or anybody else on the stage besides whoever won the daily challenge. So Devin has the opportunity to choose anybody that he wants, any man he wants to go up against, except for Horacio and Kyland. And so Devin, who is like foaming at the mouth with this power, with this chaos, and he wants to use it to his advantage. So he kind of calls out asking, which of the guys has been messing with his girls? Basically, Big T and Mariah are the only two willing to talk and throw out Coriel's name, which Devin is not going to waste his time picking the house vote or whoever was nominated here, because he wants to bring as much chaos to the house. So Devin says in his confessional he doesn't want to pick anybody that he knows, so he decides that he's going to pick Callum, of all people. And like I said, the juxtaposition of Michelle being so happy to see Devin walking into the arena to then him choosing Callum, and her demeanor just changes from yay to what the heck. So out of nowhere, Callum has to join TJ, Devin, Emmanuel, and Coriel down on the arena floor because he's going to be facing off against Devin in this week's elimination called Totally Mental. Each player will have 10 crates. They have to move them to a designated spot in the arena. Then they have to open them up and count whatever's inside. Then they have to rearrange their crates from lowest amount to highest amount. The first player to count everything correctly wins this elimination. If Devin wins, he gets 10K and Callum is eliminated. If Callum wins, then he gets to stay in the game and the house doesn't lose any money. I do have to say, bravo move by Devin for going the most chaotic route by picking Callum. Callum, who was not ready to go into this week's elimination, was completely blindsided. I had the opportunity to talk with Callum in an exit interview that is available on patreon.com/angelcakevids, and he gave me a lot of information that had not been mentioned on the show. He told me that after the Mud Daily Challenge, the Bingo Bango Daily Challenge, that he had an ear infection in one ear, and then he couldn't really hear out of his other ear. He actually had plans with production to be taken to the hospital after this elimination had wrapped up, but then everything went awry when Devin came in. But hearing the context that Callum really had a tough time hearing because of the ear infection and the blocking in his ears, the house helping him count certain objects wasn't really an advantage to him because he couldn't hear anybody. Also, this was Callum's first elimination, so having to deal with the ear stuff, as well as having to go up against a challenge champion and being blindsided without getting mentally prepared of going into the elimination. And also, this is somewhat of a puzzle. This elimination stunk. Let's be real. This wasn't a great elimination. The most challenging part of this elimination was for the editing team to make this look thrilling. It was just dudes opening up crates and counting things. Granted, they kept on getting checks and getting them wrong, so it felt like it could have been anybody's game, but at the end of the day, Devin won because he could count certain items, and Callum was off by 2 numbers. Devin wins this elimination, gets 10K, and I thought it was pretty funny at the end with the confessional where he was like, I do feel a little bad because Callum seemed to be liked by a lot of the people in the house, and he's dating Michelle, so I do feel bad about that. He also says he wish he would have picked James because he feels that maybe James and Mariah are kind of getting really, really close in the house, and he feels like that's not going to be good for the Banana Man. But what are you going to do? Devin wins another elimination. He gets 10K in his pocket. He's not going to think too hard about this as he leaves the arena. Callum is eliminated, and it just feels really bad. I've been wanting Callum on the main series of the challenge ever since I saw him on X on the Beach Peak of Love. And now we got him on the main series in season 39. He wasn't nominated by the trio. He was in the house vote. It feels like Callum's time was drastically cut short, but I have a feeling that we will see him on another season of the challenge in the future. At least I hope we see him on another season of the challenge in the future. But that is it for this week's episode of the challenge. What'd you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What'd you think about the daily challenge? What'd you think about the elimination? And what'd you think about Devin pulling the third option and his decision to go up against Callum? And do you think Michelle should have said something to Devin when he was asking who he should pick to bring down into the elimination to go up against? Because Michelle did say that maybe Devin was looking to her or would listen to her if she would have thrown out a name to him, but she didn't want to jeopardize her game. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out for Michelle and the US Alliance now that Callum is gone. Please let me know anything and everything you felt about this episode down in the comment section below. I want to give a special shout out, thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge 39 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.